Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. City have just drawn 2-2 away at Crystal Palace. A frustrating game of football. I'm not going to sit here and tell you to be happy with that or anything like that. It was disappointing. It was frustrating. It was tough to watch. It really was at times. It depends on your mileage, how frustrated you are right now. I sort of can detach from games pretty quickly and get my head sort of in place. I am not incredibly disappointed by that. I'm frustrated naturally. I don't think it was a true and utter disaster. You may think it was. I feel like it was sort of expected once I saw that lineup, which of course is an issue there. This was very much what we knew would happen with that defensive lineup, unfortunately, and with a few of the enforced changes. It was a battling game. I must say, in the interest of fairness for Palace, I thought Palace played pretty well and they were really up for it, as everyone is basically when they play Manchester City. It's one of those things where it's very hard to judge and remove the emotion from it. If you want to sit here and watch me just rant and slag everyone off, you're probably not going to get that. So I'd probably recommend you find someone else, maybe someone who's a little bit less calm than me. I felt that game was sort of expected given everything. I actually weirdly think there were some positives, and I do think there were some negatives too. But I don't really feel the negatives are surprising, and I don't feel anything that we learned against Forest has been undone here. That makes sense. I still feel very much these are the problems that have been sort of spelled out to us over the past month or so. It's one of those things where I feel like it's enforced. I actually don't think the game was that bad. I don't think we played well, but I don't think the game was that bad overall. I want City to be better. I want the City to be, playing great football, but I just can't get past the injuries, and I can't get past the enforced changes, and I can't get past the current situation we're at. I think it's going to take an awful lot of time to dig City out of the hole, and I actually weirdly think this is a small step on the way towards it. You might not agree, but that's how I feel about it. I do feel like City would have lost this last week. I think you probably all agree with me, even if you're not happy with the result. I think you would all agree that a week ago, before the Forest game, City would have lost this. I think actually the reason we didn't lose today was because City are trying to play their way out of this current spell of form. This doesn't mean it's a good result. This doesn't mean the mistakes are acceptable. This doesn't mean that City's issues aren't. This doesn't mean someone said you've been around Steve Nunes was terrible. I've not even mentioned Nunes. What are you on about, pal? I've not even mentioned any single players yet. Someone's just said I'm talking about Nunes and I've not. Do people just hear things that I've not said? I've not mentioned a single player yet. Have I? Anyway, but this doesn't mean any of these things are excuses. But you know how I approach a game of football. I always try to look at the context of it and why things happened as opposed to what happened. I don't we all know what happened. We all know mistakes were made. We all know that certain plays don't seem good enough right now. We all know that City are in a bad rut and some players are making mistakes often and some players look a little bit, tired or whatever. So I try and talk about the why, because unfortunately, we don't like that, but that's the more interesting discussion than the what. I could tell you for free that some of these players are. Probably aren't good enough now, but we know that anyway. I'll talk about what I think happened. I'll talk about the story of the game overall. Obviously, the best way to start is, of course, the lineup. For me, for me, I saw the lineup and I was immediately cautious. I thought, there's too many changes here, 4 or 5 changes. And someone's already said in the chat, I don't know what Pep was thinking. I understand some of you guys don't really pay attention to City in the way that I do. But surely some of you, surely you've read the quotes from Guardiola pre-game. Guardiola said basically the changes were forced. Look, people already say, why has he not started Doku and Grealish? Madness. I would implore you to look out before it. Look, this is the quote from Guardiola before the game. He said, fresh energy. Jack yesterday had some struggles. So Jack was struggling in training. Jeremy came back after 3 or 4 weeks of a muscular injury. 3 days. It was too much of a risk. Fresh legs, energy, and let's go. That's the reason for the changes. You don't have to like it. But Guardiola's not doing that because he doesn't want to play him. Guardiola would have loved to play an unchanged 11. That will be on the advice of the physios, on the fitness team, on the conditioning team, because Doku is absolutely made of glass. Jack Grealish has barely played and had some struggles. So they are the reasons for the changes. That's it. You can throw your toys out the pram if you don't like that, but I guarantee you it's not on the choice of Guardiola. Akanji and Ake gone through injuries. I don't know what Pep's meant to do there. I guarantee you if they were fit, they would have started. That's it. That's it. When you've got no Grealish, Doku, Stones, Ake, Akanji, Rodri, Bob, Kovacic, Foden, I think they are absolutely the biggest of asterisks there. So, unfortunately, we had to bring in players who are, I would say, suboptimal, you know? It's one of those things where, I understand why the changes were made. I was disappointed that they had to be made, but we can't ignore that. We can sit here and moan about it. I saw someone say to me on Twitter that they just don't believe Pep. Why, man? It's so logical. You can't just say Pep's lying about this. Pep was so praiseworthy of Doku and Grealish after the game the other day. He would absolutely love to start them again, I guarantee you. So, unfortunately, these players are unfit. Unfortunately, they're injury prone, so they can't play every single game. And we've got Juventus and United and Villa coming up, so Pep have to make the changes. You don't have to agree. And people go, so why is Walker and Lewis playing? Well, who do you want to play instead? A guy that you'd never heard of a month and a half ago, Simpson Pusey. Fair enough if you want to, but he's a kid as well, man. He's 18 years old. Then who else? Someone said you should play Nunes at right back. Okay, so then you play Doku out wide. Look, come on. We have to be realistic here. We have to be realistic. I know Kyle Walker's past it, and I know Rico Lewis is not having a good spell at left back right now, but Pep hasn't got many choices. And you say they can't be worse than Walker, but I don't know, man. Do you know that? Have you watched him in training attempt to play at right back? Look, I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying right now there are a lot of things that have been sort of taken out of Manchester City's hands, and until these injuries clear up, there is not much more we can do. You don't have to agree with that if you don't want to. And I do agree Kyle Walker's absolutely past it. I do. And I know everyone's looking around for someone to blame, but I just can't get past these injuries. I really can't. I think if you look at the Forest game, that is Manchester City when you've got a strong side. Man. Am I on the book? No, Mario. Of course. Fuck off, man. I mean that with it, seriously. If someone disagrees with you, you don't have to just say I'm paid off or something like that. It's just really, really childish and unfair. I just don't want to sit here and go, criminal from Pep today. I know some of you are not happy unless there's been blood, or someone's just getting stabbed or someone has to take the blame. But come on, stop swearing. No, fuck off. I can swear if I want to. We're all adults here, man. No, don't tell me stop swearing. Fuck off. Seriously. It's so frustrating when people just get so angry and start pointing the blame at people and everyone. Then no, stop it. Stop it. The tactics were poor. Do you know what it was? It's entirely down to injuries and personnel. Well, tell you, there is young children on this. Is there really, mate? How do you know? Are you a young children? Well, tell your young children to stop watching YouTube about football then, mate. How do you know they're young children on this? I don't care, man. If they go to football games, they're going to hear a lot worse than me. It's not my job to parent your young children, is it? So if they're watching a 39-year-old man talk about football, that's on the parents, isn't it? Anyway, stop being childish. So I'm a plastic because I swear. Wow, I'm hiding you on the channel, mate, because you're obviously a bellend. Anyway, I'm very frustrated about this. Very frustrated about the result, absolutely. But I'm not going to sit here and say that Pep's a fraud because he's lost Ake, Stones, Akanji, Kovacic, Foden, Rodri, Oscar Bob, and all these people. I'm not going to sit here and tell you. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it was good, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you at the same time that you can ignore those circumstances. Anyway, unfortunately, Kyle Walker's very much past it. We want to be a stuck record and repeat the same message. Yes, transfers have let City down there. Absolutely. We can say the same thing that we've said for 2 months in a row now. We know that's true. And we know Rico Lewis's form is absolutely in the bin right now. I also know that's true. I'm a Rico Lewis fan. I think he was great at the start of the season, but right now he needs to spell on the sidelines. I'm not going to tell you otherwise. I think Rico's form has dipped. Good goal for Rico, by the way. And I also thought the red card was really, really, really harsh, it's one of those things where, and at the same time, I think Pep might have made a mistake or two, but guess what? Pep's also the greatest thing that's probably ever happened to this club in terms of managerial thing. So you'll have to forgive me if I don't want to sit here and just get the knives out for Pep Guardiola. I think he's made mistakes. I've said years ago he's made mistakes. People make mistakes, but I've got a reasonable tolerance of people making mistakes because I think people are human, and I don't expect them to be perfect, because I guarantee you, commenting about Pep being a fraud and all this kind of stuff, I guarantee you've made a damn sight more mistakes in your life than Pep Guardiola's made in his. So I will allow mistakes, especially if there are a billion reasons, or an awful lot of reasons why you can give someone some credit in the bank, and also are there extraneous variables right now in terms of injuries. So this is what I'm on about, man. This is where stop playing Walker and Rico. He didn't play him last game because other people were fit. How are you guys not getting this? He's playing them because he has no choice. I know you can turn around and say you want people to just play the academy lads. Come on, be realistic about it. Rico's one of those academy lads you guys don't want to see in the team right now. We've got to be very mature about this. And apparently, you want the academy lads, but some of you guys say McAtee was actually crap, you know. But the other academy lads that you've never seen play will apparently be better. Come on. I know some of you are so angry and some of you are very young or whatever, but engage some critical thinking here. It's very, very obvious. It's very, very obvious that the situation is being driven by necessity. And I understand that we have to, make some signings. I understand we do need a rebuild. I understand that. But we can't ignore these things. We can't ignore the fact that if they played the same team as the other day, look, even all the angry people right now, just honestly, if we could have played the same team as against Forest, do you think we win that? Do you think we win that? Honest answer. And you, hand on heart, no, we win it. Of course we win it. Of course we do. The biggest change today was the players. And that's it. You know we win it if those players... We 100% know we win it if this was the same lineup as the other day. Everyone knows it, even if you're angry at Pep. So why is the lineup different? You know the answer, and therefore the conclusion, and therefore, okay. And that's it. And Pep is not a stubborn man. Oh, he is stubborn, but he's got every right to be because Pep's a genius. Anyway, so this is where I'm at today. I can't sit here and do head loss. I don't think we played well. I think some players are out of it and form, and I'll go through the players now. But I can't sit here and tell you that everything's absolutely terrible and these players should be thrown in the bin. I'll go through them all individually. Ortega went through him a little bit easy, but I wouldn't say he's particularly culpable for anything today. I thought Ruben Dias had a fantastic game, by the way. Ruben, absolutely brilliant. I've talked a lot about certain players being the catalyst for a team who don't care about the form around them because they will play good regardless. Ruben Dias is one of those players. Kevin De Bruyne is one of those players usually. Rodri's one of those players. And Ruben Dias stepped up today. My view of Rico Lewis is that in a fit and healthy squad, he'd be sat on the bench, coming on every now and then as a young lad, playing in a stronger, confident team and being a very useful squad player as he grows literally, physically, mentally and tactically. And I think Rico Lewis is playing twice as much football as he should be. Josko Vardiel, I don't think Josko had a good game. Good stats there apparently, but I don't think he had a good game. And I think Josko is another that's in a bit of a rut right now. Gundogan is Gundogan. I don't think he was good as bad as he has been, but not as good as last week. Bernardo Silva, absolutely culpable for the corner that led to the second goal. A sloppy pass. We've seen it. They're all doing it at the moment. They're all doing it. My conclusion, why is Bernardo Silva doing it? You can turn around and say he's shit if you want to. I don't believe Bernardo Silva is a shit footballer personally. I believe Bernardo Silva is a tired footballer who's making mistakes because, guess what? Do you know when I make mistakes? When I'm tired. Do you know when you're driving sometimes and you go, oh my God, I pulled that a bit too quick there. Every time I do that, it's because something's on my mind, I'm tired. And you could go, that's not good enough. No, we have to say it's shit. We have to say it's crap if you want to. Go for it, mate. But I don't see what you learn from that personally. Bernardo Silva is absolutely not his best form right now. I can give you that. But I also think Bernardo Silva is playing too much football because no one's played more football in 7 years than Bernardo Silva, which is actual fact, by the way. More squads than anyone in the past 7 years in European football. Kyle Walker, we know, is absolutely past it. He would not be on the pitch today if Akanji was fit. That's a fact for you as well. Nunes had a decent game. game, a good game, a nice crossover once again to Haaland. Those two have a really nice natural link-up. I thought Haaland scored a lovely goal. Haaland also, though, a couple of times when the ball was played into him, which he didn't collect it. You've got to do better. But once again, Erling Haaland has played an awful lot of football. We probably could do with a backup striker. That is not an Erling Haaland. Kevin De Bruyne, I thought, wasn't at his very best today. A couple of nice little passes here and there. He could have had an assist or two. He should have had an assist, actually. Not as explosive as the other day. Savinho didn't really get involved in the game. Probably should have scored. Savinho is in a sort of just signed young person rut right now. I think Savinho's quality, but I just don't think he's there right now. This is how I feel about this game. I feel so many other issues are entirely down to rotation, a lack of rotation, and some of these will be minor faults of Pep. Some of these will be minor faults of the players. Some of these issues are of our own making, but a lot aren't. I just cannot ignore Akanji, Stones, Ake, Kovacic, Rodri, Oscar Bob, Grealish, Doku been constantly having to rotate him. I can't ignore the lack of... Everyone is tired, and some of you are tired. Pep will be our downfall. Get to fuck, man. Like, come on. Come on, man. Like, really? Like, I really... Look, I don't understand how some of you guys get through life. Do some of you take the same approach to your own life when you make a mistake? Do you admonish you and slap yourself in the face when you make a mistake in life? What are you like with your partners in your family? Are they not allowed to be human and make mistakes as well? Like, can we really just try and be fair here? This man has given me more joy than I've ever possibly imagined in football. So when we sit here and say Pep will be our downfall, the reason we can fall in the first place is because Pep cemented us at the top. We are glued to the roof for the past 4 years, and Pep is going to be our downfall. That man is the reason some of you guys even enjoyed football in the first place. So what I would say is show some damn respect to the greatest manager in the history of Manchester City Football Club. Honestly, I know he's not perfect, but when would he ever claim to be perfect? Like, I can't sit here and just slag off a great because things aren't going well right now. And I'm sorry, some of you really need to take a look in the mirror because you're so quick to point fingers and get aggressive because things aren't perfect. And I'm sick of it. I'm genuinely sick of people being so demanding when if they looked in the mirror themselves, they would see they're far from perfect and true. People have a right to make errors and try and fix it. So some fucking respect, seriously. And I never get angry when I talk about football like this, but I'm so bored of it, man. I'm so bored of people like genuinely just demanding perfection. Just show some decency, man. How much City pay for me? No, I'm just not a child. I'm a grown man, and I'm sick of this attitude generally in society that people can't make a mistake. I'm tired of it. I'm genuinely tired of it. And it's one of those things where this is not about people triggering me. It's a broader thing in society. People are far too angry, far too judgmental, and far too quick to get angry and get the knives out. So this is my genuine feel on what people do when they're just like, this guy has given us joy. And because he's having a bad spell, he's the worst thing that's ever happened to this club. I can't do that, guys. And this is not for me to say that Pep's perfect. This is not for me to say that he hasn't made mistakes. I'm not stupid. I will never tell you that. But this is also not for me to sit here and be the judge, jury, and executioner. It's not that. You don't have to be that childish. The better person sits there and thinks why. And if you still conclude that it's all down to Pep, that's fine. But he deserves more respect than that. He absolutely does, man. That guy is sat there when the whole world, when every other club, when Arsenal, United, Chelsea are out to get Manchester City with all the 115 charges, and he sat there and said, I will stay here because I love this club and I'll be here in League Two. But some of you guys want him gone anyway. And I can't do that. I just can't do that. I can't do that. And this is not me actually being triggered by trolls. This is me just reacting to the general impatience of society. So this is it, man. This is how I feel about it. Like, I understand things aren't perfect, but I can't sit here and tell you everything's terrible when I actually understand why things can happen. Some of these players, some of you are so quick to throw them under the bus, and not all of you, by the way, not all of you, and I know the vast majority of the 300 people watching right now probably feel how I do, but sometimes things just have to be said, and I feel I have to say that, man. I have to say it. Like, and you can argue about tactics and all that, sure. And I think sometimes it's wrong. But am I really going to sit here and tell Pep tactics? It's like the people who think they could actually batter a bear in a fight. Come on, man. Come on. Anyway, Frustrating draw, absolutely. Mistakes made, absolutely. But until I can really sit and see the full picture and tell you that this is exactly what Pep wanted, if you hand on heart believe this is exactly what Pep wanted right now, and he's got everything he wanted and we're still being shit, and at that point, and then I'll agree with you. But it isn't. It isn't. Anyway, guys, frustrating, yes. Very frustrating, yes. But I hope, as always, that we get to January and we sign a player. We do need a right-back who can play centre-back. That's how I feel, by the way. We need a right-back who can play centre-back, you know? And I trust Pep. I really do. I really do. For now, though, United 1-0 down. I just can't do reactionary. And I tell you, as a father, as a guy who values decency, values civility and humility and patience in the world. This comes from a place of wanting to be a good person and wanting to be patient. I can tell you it all comes from that. And I do care. It's funny because for apparently, no one said you're not entitled to opinion. This is a democracy, mate. It is, but I'm entitled to tell you that you're speaking fucking nonsense if I want to as well. And you can tell me to fuck off right back. That is democracy, my friend, as well. But I will sit here and say what I want to, and you can just click off if you want to, mate. But I'm speaking from the heart here, because I always do. So, so this is how I feel. Anyway, I think City will sign someone in January. I think we have to. I think people make mistakes. But that's life, you know? And I'm not going to beat people up for making mistakes. I think today, I actually believe, and you don't have to believe it, I actually believe there was actually some decent character from City to actually come back and get a draw today, you know? Because I think that could have easily been a loss. And I think it might have been a loss, you know? Without that Forest loss. Without probably City looking in the mirror and fixing it. But anyway, I'm going to go give my son a cuddle. He's just got back from the shots with my wife. A frustrating result today. And I know this was just a rant about getting behind the team. I'm not a happy clapper. I'm really not, man. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you everything's perfect. It isn't. But I can't sit here and tell you that I'm judging the whole picture. Like, I'm not. I'm just not. This isn't the entire picture. This isn't Manchester City. Forest were one of the best teams in the league this season, and City brushed them aside the other day. That is Manchester City. This is a tired Manchester City with enforced changes. And I can't ignore those variables. And I know mistakes have been made, but guess what? Mistakes happen. In a bit, guys. Bye-bye. Have a good evening.